They stood at my gate with suitcases, like they already owned the place. And then my son said, "Open up, Dad. We're moving in." I was watching them through the security cameras of my 40 Acre estate, the same land they once laughed at me for dreaming about. 20 years, no calls, no visits. Just silence after they told me I'd die broke and alone. Now they were in my driveway, calm, confident, like nothing ever happened. Marcus didn't even hesitate. He held up a thick folder and tapped it against the intercom. "We've already spoken to a lawyer," he said. "You can't keep this from us." I felt my hand tighten over the gate control. Because they weren't just here to see me. They thought this place was theirs. And then I noticed something inside that folder that made my stomach drop. Before we go anywhere, further comment where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. They stood at my gate with suitcases, like they already owned the place. And then my son said, "Open up, Dad, we're moving in." I was watching them through the security cameras of my 40 Acre estate, the same land they once laughed at me for dreaming about. 20 years, no calls, no visits. Just silence after they told me I'd die broke and alone. Now they were in my driveway, calm, confident, like nothing ever happened. Marcus didn't even hesitate. He held up a thick folder and tapped it against the intercom. "We've already spoken to a lawyer," he said. "You can't keep this from us." I felt my hand tighten over the gate control because they weren't just here to see me. They thought this place was theirs. And then I noticed something inside that folder that made my stomach drop. A photocopy of my property deed, highlighted, annotated, sections circled in red like someone had been studying it for weeks. They hadn't just shown up. They came prepared. Elena stepped closer to the camera, adjusting her sunglasses like she used to when she was about to win an argument. "Dad," she said, her voice steady, almost rehearsed. "We're not here to fight. We're here to settle what's ours." "What's ours?" The words hit harder than anything Marcus had said. Not yours and mine, not family, just ownership. I hadn't heard their voices in 2 decades, not on birthdays, not when I got sick, not even when I buried my own brother alone. But now, they knew exactly where to find me. I glanced at the gate again. Steel, reinforced, locked. The only thing standing between them and everything I'd built after they walked away. Marcus leaned in closer to the intercom, lowering his voice like he was letting me in on something private. "You can either open this gate," he said, "or we do this the hard way." My thumb hovered over the button. And for the first time in 20 years, I had to decide if I was letting them back into my life, or finally shutting them out for good. They didn't just leave. They made sure I had no one left to turn to. 20 years earlier, I was standing in a crowded living room, surrounded by family who wouldn't even look me in the eye. Marcus was the one who spoke first, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You took it," he said. "The inheritance. All of it." Elena didn't hesitate to back him up. "And now, you expect us to just trust you?" I remember gripping the back of a chair, trying to keep my voice steady. I didn't waste anything. But I didn't explain. I couldn't. Because the truth would have exposed things they weren't ready to admit even to themselves. That silence cost me everything. By the end of that night, the story had already spread. I was reckless, irresponsible, a father who burned through his children's future. Calls stopped coming. Invitations disappeared. Even extended family stopped picking up when I dialed. And Marcus made it official the next morning. "We're done," he said over the phone. "Don't contact us again." Elena didn't even say goodbye. After that, nothing. No holidays, no updates, no second chances. Just 20 years of being erased. Back then, I sold the house. Not because I had to, but because there was nothing left tying me to it. I moved quietly, worked quietly, lived in a way that didn't invite questions. No one asked where I went. And I made sure of that. Because rebuilding wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about surviving what they left behind. Now, standing on the other side of that steel gate, I watched them step out of their car like they'd been here before. Marcus stretched his arms, taking in the land. Elena turned slowly, scanning the house, the fields, calculating. "This is bigger than I expected," she muttered. Marcus smirked. "Told you he was hiding something." Hiding. That word again. I finally pressed the button. The gate unlocked with a sharp metallic click. They didn't hesitate. They walked in like they belonged there. And when I stepped outside to meet them, Marcus didn't greet me, didn't ask how I'd been. He just held up that folder again and smiled. "Let's not waste time," he said. "We already know who told us about this place." I felt something shift in my chest, because there was only one way they could have found me. I looked him straight in the eye and asked, "Who?" That folder wasn't just paperwork, it was a plan. Marcus didn't answer my question right away. He just flipped it open right there in front of me, like he'd been waiting for this moment. Pages slid into view, printed records, maps of the property lines, transaction histories pulled from public databases. My name was everywhere. "You really thought you could hide this?" he said, tapping one of the pages. Elena stepped beside him, arms crossed. It wasn't even that hard to find once we started looking. That told me everything. They hadn't stumbled onto this. They went searching. For what? I asked, keeping my voice even. Proof that I wasn't broke? Marcus let out a short laugh. Proof that you lied, that you took what was ours and built this. He pulled out another document, this one thicker, stamped, formal, a drafted claim. Not filed yet, but ready. We've already talked to a lawyer, Elena said, her tone colder now. And based on what we found, this property was acquired with funds that should have been shared, which means, it means nothing. I cut in. For a second, neither of them spoke. Then Marcus stepped closer, lowering his voice like he was being reasonable. Look, we're not here to fight, he said. We're giving you a chance to fix this. We move in, we figure out the rest as a family. No court, no mess. Family? The word felt out of place coming from him. I looked at the suitcases still sitting by the car. They hadn't just come to talk. They expected to stay. You cut me off for 20 years, I said. No calls, no visits, nothing. And now you show up with paperwork and think you're moving in? Elena's expression tightened. Because we just found out the truth. I held her gaze. Did you? I asked quietly. There was a flicker, just a second of hesitation. So I pushed. Did you ever stop to wonder why your debts disappeared back then? I said. Why collectors stopped calling? Why things just went away? Marcus frowned. What are you talking about? Exactly. They didn't know. I stepped back and gestured toward the house. Come inside, I said. If you think this place belongs to you, then you should see the full story. They exchanged a quick look, uncertain now, but too committed to back out. And as they picked up their bags and followed me in, I knew this was the moment everything they believed was about to start falling apart. They thought they were walking into their future, but they were stepping into the past they ignored. I led them into the main room, wide windows, long table, nothing flashy, just quiet, controlled. The kind of place you build when you're done explaining yourself. Put your bags down, I said. They didn't argue this time. Marcus kept the folder in his hand though, tight grip, like it was the only thing keeping his version of the story intact. I walked to a cabinet and pulled out a stack of documents, older, worn at the edges. Not printed last week. Not something you find online. Something lived through? I laid them out across the table. Start there, I said. Marcus opened the first one. A bank statement, then another, then a transfer record. His eyes moved faster with each page, but his expression didn't catch up right away. Elena stepped closer, reading over his shoulder. What is this? She asked. I didn't answer. I let them see it. Every withdrawal from that inheritance account, traced. Every dollar accounted for, transferred not to me, but outward, to a business loan under Marcus's name, to a hospital billing department tied to Elena, to a legal firm that had quietly closed a case neither of them had ever told me about. The room went still. Marcus flipped to the next page, then the next. His confidence was gone, now replaced with something tighter, more fragile. You, he started, but didn't finish. Elena's voice came out softer. These dates? Line up, I said, with everything that mysteriously stopped going wrong in your lives. She looked at him. He didn't look back. For 20 years, they believed I took everything from them. But they never once asked why everything got easier right after. Marcus straightened, gripping the edge of the table. That still doesn't explain this place, he said, forcing the words out. You didn't build this out of nothing. Finally, the question that mattered. I nodded once, then reached for the last file, the one I hadn't shown yet. Investment statements, years of them. Small amounts, consistent, patient. No shortcuts, no hidden windfall, just time. Elena's hand slowly dropped to her side. You started over. From zero, I said. The silence that followed wasn't confusion anymore. It was realization, and then Elena whispered something that hung in the air between all of us. We told everyone you ruined us. I met her eyes. No, I said quietly. You ruined me. Marcus looked up, something defensive rising again, but it was weaker now, unsteady. And before he could speak, I leaned forward and finished it. And now you're here, trying to finish the job? For a moment, no one spoke. Marcus was still holding the edge of the table, but his grip had loosened. The folder he walked in with his proof sat off to the side now, untouched, like it didn't belong in the room anymore. I pulled the final document closer and turned it toward them. Everything you're looking at, I said, tapping the stack of investment statements, came after you left. I didn't rush it. They needed to hear it clearly. I used the inheritance to clean up what you couldn't fix yourselves. Debts, legal issues, hospital bills you never told me about. Every cent went to you, not me. Elena's eyes filled, but she didn't wipe them. I didn't defend myself, I continued, because the truth would have exposed you, and I wasn't going to do that to my own children. Marcus finally spoke, but the confidence was gone. You could have told us. I held his gaze. You didn't ask. That landed harder than anything else. I straightened up and gestured toward the door. This property, I said calmly, was built from what I had left after you were done with me. Legally, financially, it's mine. There's nothing in that folder that changes that. Neither of them argued. So here's what happens next, I continued. You take your bags, you walk back through that gate, and we end this right here. Elena let out a shaky breath. Dad. But there was nothing left to add. Marcus looked at her, then at me, and for the first time since they arrived, he didn't have an answer. They picked up their suitcases slowly. No more confidence, no more demands. Just quiet. I followed them out, stopping at the same place where I'd first seen them on the screen. They walked past me without another word. No apology, no argument. Just the weight of something they couldn't undo. When they crossed the gate, I pressed the button. The steel doors closed between us with a final, echoing thud. And this time, I didn't hesitate. The monitors flickered as the gate sealed shut, the sound echoing longer than it should have. I stayed there for a second longer than I needed to. Not because I was unsure, but because I was making sure. Through the camera, I watched them reach their car. Elena paused by the door, her hand resting on the handle like she might turn back. Marcus said something I couldn't hear. She nodded once, then got in. They drove off without looking back. That was the last time I saw them. Later that week, my lawyer filed a formal notice documenting their attempted claim, locking everything down legally so there would be no second visit, no second argument, no gray area left open. Word spread faster than I expected. Family members who hadn't spoken to me in years started calling again. Not to apologize, just to check in, to ask questions, to quietly confirm what they'd heard. I didn't answer, because the truth had already done its job. Not loudly, not publicly, but completely. As for Marcus and Elena, I heard enough. Their story, the one they told for 20 years, started to collapse the moment the facts surfaced. People asked questions they couldn't answer. Details didn't line up anymore. And for the first time, they were the ones being looked at differently. Not me. Out here, on 40 acres of land I built piece by piece, things stayed quiet. Exactly how I wanted them. No noise, no accusations, no expectations. Just space and one closed gate that wasn't opening again. Because they were right about one thing all those years ago. I did end up alone, just not the way they meant.